Hi, everybody. So I'm here with the hilarious Graham Elwood from comedyfilmnerds.com. Check it out. He's got a new podcast, a new documentary film out called, what's it called, Graham?
Earbuds, the podcasting documentary.
And where can you find that?
comedyfilmnerds.com. We have standard def and high def downloads. We have bonus features as a download. You can pre-order DVDs. It's all there at comedyfilmnerds.com, Jimmy.
All right. Now,
But it's not a porn site. Not a porn site.
Not unless you want it to be.
okay,
I
so
always
everybody
wanted to
check that
be.
out. Earbuds, the podcasting movie, and
Podcasting documentary.
And unfortunately, I was out getting an award that night when they were shooting, so I wasn't able to be in that movie.
Jimmy was too busy.
Everybody knows what's happening in North Dakota. Well, this is what's happening in North Dakota.
Move south on the roadway.
Hey!
Move south. Do not approach out.
So there you go. So that's what's happening up there. We have a bunch of brutal maniacs beating on peaceful protesters with sticks at the behest of Wall Street banks and oil companies. And so what I've been saying on the show for a while is that one of the silver linings of a Donald Trump presidency, if you could call it that, is that now all the horrible shit like this that's been going on in our country, people will now be more upset about it and want to do something about it, because people right now are going, well, in North Dakota, I'm sure the president, whatever he's doing, it's probably right because I like him. I like President Obama. He's nice. And so someone put this under one of the videos that we did. Somebody put this comment, which I liked. And it said, to be fair, he's exaggerating, he meaning me. He's exaggerating to make the point that Obama has laid the foundation for a fascist. The removal of habeus corpus by itself is a practical invitation for a totalitarian state to develop here. Obama's been allowed to do these things by the combination of trusting liberal public and weak press. Trump, right now at least, inspires enough dread and doubt that the public is undertaking to learn more about politics and potentially take back power. So, Graham, what do you think about that theory?
Sounds like some more liberal brainwashing to me. That's what it sounds like. No, honestly, I think that's a great point. And I'll look to myself for starters. I think I was one of the many people, I consider myself trying to fairly politically astute, but I think I fell under that, like, you know, Obama's in the White House. I never thought I'd see a black president in my lifetime, let alone one with a Muslim name.
Yes.
So I never thought I was going to see that in my lifetime, especially after 9/11.
Me
so
neither.
That happened. He got elected twice.
Made us feel good about ourselves, right?
Yes, we thought America, you know what? America's not perfect, but you know what? We're finally going in the right direction. He had to fight tooth and nail to get Obamacare, which is not a perfect solution, but it's a beginning step. I personally save almost $3,000 a year on Obamacare. So I was like, we're doing okay. I haven't registered with the Democratic Party in over 20 years. I'm an independent. I'm definitely left-leaning. And this is not where I stand, but I think a lot of Americans then, we all sort of went, yeah, we got a black president. Things aren't as bad as we thought. And, hey, the Democratic Party's not perfect, but, they'll do the right thing. And, I'm not a huge fan of Hillary, but so what has happened to me, and I think a lot of other people, I have gone, I need to pay way more attention. I need to do everything that you're talking about. I couldn't tell you all of Obama's cabinet, but I know every one of these Nazi cocksuckers that Trump's trying to bring in there, and I've been reading up about it every day. And I'm also reading, and I posted, because I'm like, what can I do? I'm not hugely famous.
So I saw, but
right, yeah.
For a
I'm
second,
sorry.
I saw a tweet today about someone complaining about Trump's treasury pick, and who was blaming the Bernie Bros for all those people who thought Hillary was too close with Wall Street. Look, Trump's putting in a Goldman Sachs guy from Treasury, and I'm like, who the fuck do you think Hillary was going to put in?
Right.
You think she's going to get somebody from my savings and loan in Pasadena? She's going to get somebody from fucking she's probably going to get Jamie Dimon, or she's going to get fucking Lloyd Blankfein. She's going to get one of those guys, just like Barack Obama. Right now, the Treasury Secretary is Jeffrey Liu, who is the former COO of Citigroup. I mean, that's what's going. So the difference between, people said this before me, I'm not the first one to say this, the difference between the Treasury Department in Barack Obama's administration and George Bush's is the difference between the 5th and 6th floor at Goldman Sachs. And so people are afraid that Trump might explode the wars. Barack Obama, we're still in Afghanistan 15 years later, 5 more years, we get a gold watch. He went back into Iraq. He did Libya. And we bombed so much in Syria, we ran out of bombs. We're now bombing in Yemen. And just yesterday, we reported on the show, he's expanding the war now to Somalia. So now if Trump was doing any of those things, people, I think, would be screaming about them. But since Barack is doing it, we have it embedded in our head. It's like, that's probably the best we could get. He's probably fighting the good fight, which I've come to believe now is not true. I've come to believe that Barack Obama was a wolf in sheep's clothing, and he just continued George Bush's foreign policy unabated. In fact, he took his defense secretary, put him in his cabinet. The economic policy, he codified Bush's tax cuts permanent. George Bush couldn't make those tax cuts permanent. Barack Obama did. Barack Obama was the one who made the banks bigger. He didn't break them up when people were ready for him. Like I've talked about in that book, Listen Liberal by Thomas Frank, he said America came to a turning point in 2009 and it failed to turn.
Oh God, are you talking about the $1.4 trillion in stimulus money, $700 billion by Bush and $700 billion by Obama? It's
exact.
It's unbelievable to me. This country is bought and paid for.
The one-party rule is what we're talking about, right? The money party, and that's what Ralph Nader was originally upset about. I was upset about it back then. I'm sure you were upset about it back then. I know a lot of people who did vote for Nader, afraid to vote third party this time. But the reason why I bring this up is for all these reasons, what's going on at Standing Rock. And then I saw this. So this guy tweeted this out. He said, okay, so just call me Rip Van Winkle. I apparently slept through the part where Trump was sworn into office, and I'm just now waking up. Why did he say this? Because this was from Slate. Find out what it's like to work as an abortion provider in the age of Trump. He's not fucking president yet. He hasn't been president ever. It's been Barack Obama for the last 8 years. And then this next thing from Rolling Stone. Standing Rock protesters react to life under Trump. He's not fucking president yet. This is life under Obama. So this is what I've been talking about. So just what Graham just said, he's paying a lot more. I couldn't tell you who's in Obama's cabinet, but everybody knows who the fuck's in Trump's cabinet, don't we? And so now we can stand up and push back against these things. And I think that's the silver lining that a lot of people are missing, because a lot of the same policies that George Bush did, Barack Obama continued to, but we were kind of like put to sleep because Barack Obama is such a pretty face and such a likable guy, and he had his enemies are assholes that we went to sleep.
Well, that's it. And that's the thing. So that's what the Republicans, all they did was block him at every turn. And they didn't block him for noble reasons.
Right.
It's, Mitch McConnell in 2010 said, on TV, all I'm going to do is block this guy.
Right.
So, and that's my problem, has always been my problem with the Democratic Party. Their whole campaign is, well, we're not them. We're not them. That's their whole fucking campaign. Yes. It's always, we're not them. And it's like, I understand or understood I'm going to vote for Hillary just to stop Trump. I get that because he's doing things in Germany in the 30s. Like that is happening, and we can't. And
Remind me what happened in Germany in the 30s?
They got him out of the Depression. Hitler got him out of the Depression.
Enough.
That's what
they got a nice car out of it.
Yeah, trains ran on time in Italy. I'll tell you that much.
The potato famine. I don't know what I'm talking about. So I can understand that too. Trump is a real ugly face on a lot of bad, but I say he puts also an ugly face on a lot of bad shit that we've all kind of been letting happen. For instance, torture,
right?
Illegal wars, aggression. Like I said, we're expanding our wars, which is how all empires end. Right? We're somehow half the country's in poverty. You know that half the country's poor in poverty officially, statistically. When I tell people that, people are like, what? Where are you getting this shit from? Oh, yeah. And people are always shocked when I tell them that. But that is true. Half the country is considered officially in poverty or poor. And here we are expanding. We're in 9 countries we're bombing now. And this is the guy who got a peace prize, right? And he's still trying to spread human rights all around the world, because after Castro died, he wanted to make sure we still have problems with Castro. We run a torture facility in his country.
It's on his island. It's not in his country.
On his island. We run a torture facility in fucking Cuba. But we're the ones worried about human rights. So you see what I'm talking about. People are not going to allow Trump to get away with half the shit that America has been getting away with. So that's my hope. Anyway, then that's what I think this talk speaks to.
I think a more engaged, America apathy is rules the day. Now, part of that apathy, is the system is broken
By design.
By design.
They make you vote on a work day.
Oh God, I was on Will Anderson's podcast, and he was like, wait a minute, explain this? You have to first register to vote. It's compulsory in Australia, and then you have to pick a party? He's like, what? And then it's on a Tuesday when everyone works? He said, and I was like, and that's part of the problem is, so
the system is designed to suppress the vote and make you feel powerless. And consequently, a lot of people do feel powerless.
Of course. And 100 million people didn't vote. 57% voter turnout? 58? Wasn't it that what it was?
Is that what it was? I don't know. I have to check.
Okay, so that's a D. If we're going to grade it, that's a D. And 57 and a half. We'll call it 58. 58%. I will round up to this D. You get a D plus. So it's by design. Now, yes, I'm not a either or person with a lot of subjects. Yes, it's by design, and yes, you should not have stayed home. I think it's bullshit you didn't vote. Well, how can you say that if the system's rigged? If you overwhelm them with votes, there's nothing they couldn't done anything about it. So that's where America's laziness and its apathy makes me go, well, Americans are more apt to just sit there and go, oh, I tried. No, you didn't. You threw one can near the recycle bin and it hit the wall and bounced off and you went, see, I tried. That's like America's attempt at trying to make things better.
Here's what happened when I went to vote. So I vote over here, same place all the time. I go to vote, and there's never a line ever. In fact, I can hear an echo when I go in to vote. So I go to vote, and there's a line out to the street. And I'm like, what? I had to go to the Young Turks because we were covering it live all day. We did like 14 hours straight or something. I had to get there. I had to be on there. I had a show that was promoted for me at 11 o'clock a.m. I had to be there in Culver City. So I show up at 9 o'clock. I'm like, I'll have plenty of time to vote and get to Culver City. 20 minutes of standing in line, I didn't move. I hadn't moved. And I'm like, so that all these thoughts are going through my head like, well, if I'm having a hard time and what about people who are, what about if I was a bricklayer, I couldn't do this.
Sure.
When I was a blue collar guy, I couldn't. So that's why.
What about all those states that had closed down polling places?
And what about, and then they
contracted their polling places, made voter ID laws, purged the rolls.
And where do they do that? They do those in poor areas.
Yeah,
that's where they do it.
And
people who have the least amount of time to vote.
And look, any one of those 100 million people who said, look, I relay brick, I've got 2 jobs, I'm a single parent, and I couldn't stand those lines. I totally get that, and I get every right. In the states that were only day and date voting. If you had early voting, if you had California where you could vote by mail, that's when I go, you know what? You don't have an excuse. If you can do that, and I know that's not every state. So I'm saying it's never one. The system is yes. The system is rigged. The system is broken.
Well, look at the system. We have an electoral college that overturns the will of the people. The whole point of the electoral college is if the will of the people elect a maniac, we'll overturn it. Well, this is the time to use the electoral college, and if you're not going to use it now, what the fuck do we have it for?
Right.
If you're not going to 2 million more votes to the person who lost, and the guy we got is a fucking certifiable maniac.
Right.
This would be the time to use it, but they're not going to use it. So why do we still have it, Graham? Because white landowners like it.
Yeah.
That's why. Believe me, if it went the other way and a black guy would have won or somebody who was progressive would have won without the popular vote, that electoral college would have been gone the next. By the way, if Al Gore would have beat George Bush. Right. Well, but while losing the popular vote, that would have been gone the next fucking year. That electoral college had been gone because the money people, they like it. That's why it's there. That's why it's still there.
Well, it's also it's an issue that comes up every 4 years, and even in its most dire form, it would require a constitutional amendment.
Yes, it would,
which is just
really unbelievably
difficult, and by design, and for good reason. And what's happened with the Electoral College is within a few years of its establishment in the original country, it just by statute became like, well, we do whatever.
Yeah. So then the Electoral College is like, well, we're just going to go with the popular vote, but except it's a winner take all.
The Electoral College has never been used to overturn.
Yeah, I never heard of it being used to overturn.
But there are arguments on both sides. The way one of the things the Electoral College is supposed to do is give a little bit of weight to, for instance, states that don't have as much power.
Right. They're supposed to give more power to rural states.
Sure.
Right.
So I saw a map that somebody posted. They're like, well, if we just do popular vote, there's 4 states, Texas, California, Florida, and New York, that have over a third of the country's population. That's not fair. And I'm like, that logic doesn't hold. Here's why. Because right now there's only 15 states. There's only 15 states that the politicians go to.
And Hillary didn't even go to Wisconsin.
Didn't go to Wisconsin. Trump didn't go to Wyoming. Hillary didn't go to Vermont or New Hampshire, one of those states, because they don't need to. They don't need to.
Right.
So here's the thing. And the other thing, so in California, one electoral vote represents 100,000 people. In a state like Iowa, one electoral vote represents 100,000 people.
No, wait, you just said it twice.
One electoral vote equals 400,000
in California,
and one equals 100,000
in Iowa.
So our votes here in California are less valuable.
Oh, yes, so it's not one man, one vote.
No, it isn't. If you made it just popular vote, then guess what? I have to go to Wyoming because I need
everybody's votes.
I need everybody's votes. If I get an extra, and because they're still applying winning the state system to it. I'm like, no, you would abolish the state system. It would just be
popular wherever you could get those. And by the way, Trump actually did go to the rural voters this year, and he did. So that whole idea of people will just go campaign in the popular cities, and that's not true because he turned it on its head already. Let me just say this: so when I'm standing in line trying to vote, and I realize now I'm not going to be able to vote, I have to leave because I'm going to get fired.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, now I know what this feels like. This is unbelievable. And as I say to the girl in front of me, I said, could you hold my place in line? Because I'm like, it hit me. I think I vote by mail. So I went home and I checked, son of a bitch, I do vote by mail. I'm supposed to vote by mail. I signed it up because I didn't want to have something like this happen. So this was the first year I was supposed to vote by mail. I forgot. I went home. I found it. In like 5 seconds, I found the ballot. I never find anything. I was like, oh, I get to vote. So I was like happy I got to vote.
And that's if we have a state where you can vote by mail.
Yes.
Now, Obama exploited that in 2012. That's one of the reasons he won, is he got more people to early vote. And he ran a campaign, and the polls were off in his election too. They were saying, oh, Romney's close and all this stuff. Nope.
All right, Graham, we're going to put a link to his podcast movie right underneath.